almost 8 o'clock. Been up here since like 6:30. And it is eerily quiet. I mean, the occasional bird and falling leaf. But I haven't seen any deer in this spot. When we were driving in, there was 2 does that were running across the road on the way to get here. That's way far down the road. So my suspicion is they already moved through here. They ate or did what they had to do. And they're going back. Because it is odd not to see deer in this field in the morning. This one right behind me. And then they'll walk through here where I'm at. I haven't seen anything. So I'll sit here for a little bit longer. See if they come out when the sun gets up there. But the temperatures today are gonna get pretty warm. I'm talking like in the 70s. Like, that's odd. And usually I'll see them right in this gap here. And they'll come across here. But I haven't seen anything. So, fingers crossed. So I just had 4 does. They came up behind me here. And I caught the one. This is the trail in. I caught her going up this way. I dipped the doe bleat and I got one to come to about this right in this big tree here. And she stood there and looked for a minute, so I couldn't move. And she just stood there and we kind of stared at each other for about 5 minutes, if that. They ended up walking back through here, and I seen them kind of hop around this way. And I figured there'd be maybe a buck chasing them. They didn't spook or anything. They're just moving their way. They ended up going back over here, down the way, that way. But they didn't come from this way. They came from behind me. It's a southeast wind, so that'd be here, coming towards my face. So they didn't quite know I was here. 2 of them weren't very big. They were, again, almost like fawnish. They're almost like they're really tiny. And they're kind of playing over by this tree, jumping. But they didn't stick around long enough for me to get my camera out. But they didn't. They must have came from another field back behind me and worked their way up this way. Because I had seen nothing out here. And they crept in on me too. I didn't hear them. I just caught the bigger doe off the corner of my eye, off this, right after this down tree here. You see it right here. way back up there in the corner, and they took that kind of route. They came back down this way. So scent's good to this point. Again, it's hard turning here and shooting. I like when they're here, they're out on this side. But it's a good sign that I've seen deer in the morning, you know. Been sitting up in this tree for a hot minute. But I don't know. It's a little after 8 now, so head on a swivel. So we'll have to wait and see what appears next.
And so, day eight of me tracking these hunts. Me and Cindy were sitting in the garage. You know, she's formulating her plan for the wedding, and I'm formulating my plan for hunting. After we got through the outs and ends of the wedding, I told her this is the way I wanted to hunt leading up to the next morning. I said, the weather's been odd here. It's been really warm. That really messes up the scheduling for these deer. I mean, deer are going to get bred, don't get me wrong. But they might not be moving in the area that I need them to move, which is in front of my blind or in front of my tree stand. They might be doing things in other portions because there's just a lot of real estate where I hunt. Unfortunately, I can't hunt it all. I wish I could. And so after we got through the formalities of that, I looked at her and I said, you know, it's going to be a southeast wind and it's going to be warm. So, you know, I bet you these deer are going to come from the back of me. And I'm like, shooting off to the right of me really sucks. It just does. Just the way the tree stand's positioned, because I got it kind of not at an angle, but it's more towards the front of me and towards what comes off that field. You know, and I've made my lanes, you know, the long ways that way. Haven't paid quite much that attention. I've seen deer activity over there, whether it be scat or whether it be a little bit of some scrapes over there. But for the most part, all the action is right there in front of me. It's right in this little corridor. It's almost a passing corridor. There's got to be a bedding area over a little bit further from me. There's got to be a bedding area over there. And I know there's a direct bedding area across that field. I know that for a fact. So this is like a corridor where these deer meet up and they socialize in the middle of the field and they eat and do what they have to do. But the weather has really been changing their patterns. I've been trying to change with their patterns. That's why I kind of game planned this. So if you look in those videos, I talk about some deer that had shown up. Lo and behold, they came in from behind me. That ag field off to me, there's like a little choke point there where two woods meet to the choke point that kind of make that field, you know, be kind of split in half. You know, but there is a small corridor where, you know, the farmers can get their tractor through to start the next field. So I knew that was going to be an issue, and right off the bat, those deer came over there. Kind of tried to trick this one on a doe bleat just to see what she would do. She was kind of curious, but she ended up just turning around and catching up with the rest of them. I'm telling you, no more than 5 or 10 minutes after that, I don't think it was the same group of deer. It could have been they could have circled back or something, you know, went down and then hooked the left, went back into the far end of the field where I can't see, and then came back up. But I looked down a little bit, tapped my screen to see what time it was, looked up, and these two deer are just ripping right through the woods. I don't think they knew I was there, but then I just put my crossbow up and I'm waiting for a buck. I'm like, these deer are at a full sprint through the woods, Now, it's one of two things. They're either getting chased by a coyote or they're getting chased by a buck. And I'm hoping it's the big guy. I'm hoping it's him. So I got my crossbow up and I'm waiting. Nothing shows up. I don't know if it was a buck. I don't know if he tried to cut him off, seen him go into those woods and then try to, you know, take his own left and cut those deer off. The bucks are going to be harassing the does from this point out, all the way to the end, folks. I believe the rut's is happening right now. I understand some people might not be seeing enough deer, but I'm going to tell you, does are getting bred, whether you like it or not, and it's happening. You're going to see a lot more chasing coming up, especially when the winter starts to creep a little bit further in here and pushes this warm weather out of my area. It's Northwest Indiana, so it's a crapshoot. You never know what kind of weather you're going to get. And so they're gonna be chasing, they're gonna be harassing these does. These guys have been eating and bulking up for the winter months, and plus they're gonna have their frustrations all the way to this point where they need to let them out, and the does are gonna be there, and they have to find these does. So that it was pretty cool to see some deer. It was pretty cool. Even it was creeping up there in temperature. Seeing those deer come through the woods was really encouraging. It really was. I was really hoping there was going to be a buck on the tail end of that, and maybe I could get him to stop, because they came pretty close, right in front of the shooting lane. Like, if they would have stopped there and looked back, they probably would have got stuck with an arrow at that point. That's only a 20, 25 yard shot at the most. But they didn't stick around. I mean, again, I don't think they saw me. They were at a full gallop coming through those woods. That's what got me excited. So I sat up there. Nothing happened. And then, I sat up there for another 20, 30 minutes, somewhere in there. And it started to get really warm up there. So that's why you can see I put those wicks up there to cover my scent even more. Cover it up. I don't care what anybody says, man. One of the biggest defenses a deer has is its nose. Sometimes these really younger deer, they got to smell you, see, and hear you to peel off. The older bucks, they got big racks for a reason. That's because they just use their nose. They don't necessarily have to hear you or see you, but if they can smell you, they're going to avoid you at all costs. And I believe scent control is one of the main things you can trick them, especially on these windy days like I was hunting. Again, I knew these deer were probably going to come from the back of me. I was telling Cindy that the whole night, and I kept on thinking that thought process in my head. And lo and behold, they came in there behind me. Again, I was sitting there for another 20, 30 minutes, and a squirrel came up. And I'm like, well, I got a small game license. And I'm like, I'm like, hopefully I don't go home empty-handed. So I picked up my crossbow and I looked, and my optic was off. So I kind of turned it and turned it and turned it some more. And I'm like, well, this thing's not turning on, and this isn't great. So I kind of looked, and I'm like, man, I bet you what? I bet you the battery's dead. And this is some advice. If you're going to buy a crossbow, and it's going to have some lit up reticles or your lit up pin lines or numbers or whatever it may be, make sure if that lighting system craps out, that you have something to back that up with. Something like an outline of a reticle, something of that nature, the lit up pins or the numbers or whatever the crossbow has. Definitely going to look into that on my next purchase with the crossbow, because I'm probably going to get rid of this older one, and I'm going to get more modern and get something a little bit better, but I'm going to make sure it has backup reticles. We talk about this in gun culture all the time about having backup sights on your rifle. Your optic goes out, you should have a pair of backup iron sights to ensure that you get the job done when you go to work. And this is the same concept. So, get on the phone and tell Cindy, she had the truck. I said, hey, come pick me up. I said, my optic's out. I got to get a new battery. I'm borrowing this crossbow. I'm like, I got to replace it. It's Sean the Researcher's crossbow. And, if I give it back, I don't want to give it back with a dead optic. So we got to go to the store, make sure, on our way home, we stop at the old Rural King and pick up some batteries for this thing. I know what batteries they are. And she's like, all right, I'll be there about 5-10 minutes. I said, give me about that time, because I have a tree that I put a new mock scrape on, that's in the shooting lane, and I have an experiment tree that I made where I'm going to make another video on that. So I want to pull these 2 SD cards real quick and see what I get on them. So anyways, I get down the tree stand and I tell Cindy, give me some time. And then I walk over there, grab the cards, and I walk back over to grab my crossbow, and I hear some crunching from the back of that tree. And so I kind of put my crossbow on my shoulder, leaned over and I'm looking right at a doe. You know what I'm saying? She's about 10, 15 feet from me. She looks at me. She's surprised. She doesn't even have a chance to blow. She just hightails it out of there. And the other ones are like, whoa, where's she going? Well, we're going to go follow her. So she took off and they came from directly, behind me. I'm going to tell you, man, deer at this point, they're not going to be making these kinds of mistakes at this point. They're going to be walking from downwind to get to where they have to go. Especially the mature bucks, they're always going to walk, from downwind to smell what's coming up before them. So that's really important to have scent control. I cannot stress that enough. I've been blown out by a couple of deer, even a couple of bucks. I had a buck walk right up on me. And we didn't know until, it was that time where he's looking at me and I'm looking at him. It was really good scent control, but again, you got to kind of pay attention to what's going on. And I kind of got complacent there. And it was quite a few does, man. They took off. And I noticed about that field, there's a pinch point there that I can look at and see, where the farmers will drive their tractor to go do the other field. But the wood line on that other field seems to be thinning out. Now again, we've had a lot of storms, a lot of severe weather. I don't know if trees have got knocked down. I don't know if they've kind of extended that field a little bit, but I noticed that. And I noticed that in the video. I'm definitely going to take a look at that. Because that's going to start getting rid of the cover for these deer. And I think that's right now what they're going to be seeking here in the next few weeks. Shady, covery spots. Nice, good bedding spot. Because it's been so warm. Again, I'm going to be hunting tomorrow. It's another southeastern winds. 10 to 20 this time. But we're going to be sitting in the low 60s. So again, we're going to kind of have the same day as we had that day. So I got to really make sure my scent's under control and really pay attention to what's going on. Again, these deer, I haven't seen a ton of them use that pathway, walking out and going to the truck to get picked up. I noticed they made their own path through there, and that's one of the paths that I take to get to the tree stand. So again, I don't want to, come to a point where we meet up there. They can have that path, but I don't want to spook them out of there. So, after all this had happened, I got another battery for the optic, put it in there, and lo and behold, that was the problem. The battery was dead. So Sean the researcher had called me. He's back up from the south. And I told him, like, look, man, you should go hunting with me and you should hunt the blind, same blind I shot that doe out of. I'm like, we might get lucky. So he's like, all right, man, we'll do it. That's why I didn't have a show on Wednesday. By the time we got done hunting, we were way past time driving home. Again, it's a long trek to get from, the hunting spots to my house. It's a long time. Good 35 minute drive. So we sat there, when he got there, and we sat there for, a good few hours. And unfortunately, man, people are around us. They're part of our everyday life. They make us mad. They make us happy. They make us sad. We get all kinds of emotions from them. Well, unfortunately, the new one that I'm hunting at, has people around there. And with people around there hooting, hollering, giggling, kids doing the things that they do, the deer aren't going to come quite, trampling through that area. That's the one thing that I've noticed. It's got to be really calm. It's got to be really nice weather, and they'll come around that spot. But if there's a lot of humans interacting with each other, they're gonna peel off and do something else or go somewhere else. There's some parts of the county where a lot of people have domesticated deer. To the point where, they can walk out their porch and feed these animals. The deer that I'm hunting, they tolerate humans to a certain level. After that, they don't want any part of it. They don't want to be around them, and they'll take any kind of access or path to stay away from them. And I think there's a big discrepancy there from where I see some other people tell me some stories about, oh, the deer just come out, eat right out of your hand. Those deer are domesticated, and they don't know the difference between danger at this point, unless it is a wolf or some kind of a coyote you're chasing them or something like that, man. Other than that, they feel like they have protection there. The deer that I'm hunting aren't like that. These are wild animals. They'll tolerate human scent to a certain extent, and then they're gone, and they don't want any part of it. That's the difference there. So we ended up picking all our stuff up, and we're talking and catching up on times and maybe some more strategies, because we'll be going on a hunt here at the end of the month. This is going to be a good one. This is the first pheasant hunt I've ever been on, so we're going to be doing that as well. So I'll have some footage from that. Granted, people want to be on camera, and we can talk about our experiences. I think it's really beneficial to get some of these guys' knowledge. Sean, the researcher's dad's very knowledgeable in hunting, and I've picked up on that the last few times me and him have gone since Sean's been away. So it's been very beneficial for me, and there's a lot of more aspects that I've gained as being a hunter, and that's one of the cool things about hunting is, I don't care who you are, you learn something. You learn something new every time. Some kind of trick, some kind of a way to fill the freezer, as they say. So look up for those upcoming videos. But it was good to see deer moving. It was good to see some opportunities that may arise here in the next few weeks. Again, weather's been kind of weird. Here in my area, Northwest Indiana, this is where the rut really starts to take hold. I have been seeing some new scrapes. When me and Sean, the researcher's dad, went squirrel hunting a week ago, we saw a ton of scrapes that we haven't seen in those particular areas that we've hunted. Quite a few. So we've been seeing some other activity that's going on. So expect that here the next couple of weeks in this area. Keep an eye on that weather. Keep an eye on your surroundings. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you get in and out of your stand as quiet as possible. Control that scent, and you have a great possibility of being really successful, because they say it's magical November time. So that's what happened on day 8. It was still a cool experience. And I will say one thing. Driving home, Sean, the researcher, didn't get to see what I saw. We were going down this it's not a highway, but it's a pretty, a speedy travel route. And we were coming up to this field. I don't know if it was a decoy. I know there's a guy that has a huge, blind, a tripod blind or something, up in this cornfield. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if it was a decoy, but that was one of the biggest deer that I've seen. And it was right around 6:30, right when you can almost see, but you can't see, what I'm saying, before the night takes hold. One of the biggest deer that I've seen. And I'm telling you, when I say one of the biggest deer, I was like, wow. I was like, did you see that? He's like, no, I didn't see it. I was like, holy cow. My advice before we leave is get to your stand early and quietly. Take it in and sit there and take advantage of the 30 minutes before. At the end of your hunt, or if you go to a new space or you come back, take advantage to the last 30 minutes. I guarantee you're going to see a lot more deer movement with this weather pattern that's coming in, because it's going to be really warm during the day, and there's going to be a lot of rain that's supposed to be coming with this system on top of the warm temperatures. So they might not be moving as much in the middle of the day. You never know. They could be. Again, it depends on the area that you live in. But in here, usually when it's overly warm or it's really raining, deer aren't moving. They're kind of sitting in their little spots, chewing their cud, doing whatever the deer do. I don't know, watching, deer soap operas. I don't know. But I highly suggest you do that. You might get lucky, you might not. But that's what I'm going to be doing from this point out. I'm going to take advantage of that 30 minutes before, and definitely take advantage of the 30 minutes after the legal shooting time. Take that into consideration. I'd like to thank my old and my new subscribers and just the people that zip through. I greatly appreciate it. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to everybody that you watch on social media, just not me. And like always, we'll catch you on the next one.